Tyler from Aspire Sports. Today's video, I'm going to give you my do not draft running backs for the 2021 fantasy football season. These are guys that where they're currently going, their ADP, their average draft position, there's just other guys that you should be drafting rather than these guys. I'll give you those guys as well, tell you why you shouldn't be drafting these guys. So if you find yourself enjoying the content at any part during the video, do me a big favor, smash that thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We release new content daily that will help you win your fantasy football leagues. So with that being said, let's get in the video. The first player for me, Mike Davis. And Mike Davis is somebody that prior to the preseason, I was kind of big on. But now that I'm doing my own research, more research, and I'm putting out my own theories together about how these players are going to play in their situations, how the teams are going to utilize these players, I'm just not that big on Mike Davis anymore. This is a 28-year-old veteran who became relevant last year because it took an injury to Christian McCaffrey and it took a lot of volume for him to be relevant. He's not a very efficient player. In his career, he's averaging below 4 yards per carry. Now he's going to a team where the run blocking is not good for this team. The pass blocking wasn't good. They posted their worst numbers in Matt Ryan's career last year. So now that this group needs to get better, they need young guys to play better. And if they don't, they're going to be one of the worst run blocking units in the NFL. So we have a player who I don't want to say isn't very good, but he's not very good, playing behind a bad offensive line that you're just hoping he gets a bunch of volume because he needs volume to be relevant in fantasy because he's not an explosive player. So we need all these things to go right for Mike Davis to have a good season, and I just don't foresee it. I don't think it's going to happen. What's more likely to end up happening is he has a couple decent weeks here, and then eventually it gets pushed into a committee, and he becomes very meh. Where I'd rather take guys like Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, Myles Gaskin in this range than take my shot on a 20-year-old vet who's never gone over 165 carries in his career. So Mike Davis, I'm all out on. The second player for me, Raheem Mostert. He's currently being drafted as running back number 29. He's projected to be the starting running back for this team, but just because he's projected to be the starting running back doesn't mean he's going to be the starting running back for the full season. San Francisco is a very friendly fantasy team when it comes to the running back position. So Raheem Mostert, there's a couple reasons why I don't like him. The first one is he's 29 years old, has had injuries in his past. He's had 2 high ankle sprains last year, 2 MCL sprains, a broken forearm. He's just a guy that had one really good second half of the season into the playoffs back in 2019. Other than that, hasn't really done a whole lot. So not a whole lot of production here for Raheem Mostert other than that 1 year. At 29 years old, what does this team now do in the offseason? A team will tell you everything, what their intentions are with their moves. So they sign Wayne Gallman. Then they go on and draft Trey Sermon. Not only did they draft Trey Sermon, they traded up to draft Trey Sermon. And then they drafted another rookie running back in the 6th round. Does that tell you that they're overly confident about the running back position right now? You still have Jeff Wilson. You have JaMycal Hasty on this team. There's still guys on this team. To me, it just shows that they're not 100% in on Raheem Mostert. That's why they traded for Trey Sermon. And Trey Sermon currently has had the most running back touches with the first team offense this training camp. So what does that tell you? To me, Trey Sermon, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when he ends up being the guy in this offense. So for those reasons, I'm out on Raheem Mostert. I'd much rather go with all the rookie running backs this upcoming season. A lot of guys over him at his current price point. So out on Raheem Mostert. He's the second guy. The third running back, Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon is currently projected to be the starting running back for this Denver Broncos team. But much like Raheem Mostert, how long do we anticipate that happening for? This team drafted Javonte Williams in the 2nd round. It was basically a borderline 1st-round draft pick for this team this past season. So Javonte Williams, some considered him to be the best running back in this draft class, now playing for the Denver Broncos, and he's been good. He's been very good in camp. And one thing with rookie running backs that you need to watch out on is pass protection. How good are they, especially to play on third downs to get a role in this offense? Last year in college, he was one of the best pass pros at the running back position. In camp, they've been talking about how good he's been in pass protection. So he's going to see the field sooner rather than later for this team. You have Melvin Gordon, one time in his 6-year career, has played a full season. I don't anticipate him playing a full season this upcoming year. Javonte Williams will eventually be the starting running back for this team. For those reasons, I'm out on Melvin Gordon. I'd much rather go Michael Carter, Damian Harris, or even Ronald Jones in this range rather than Melvin Gordon, and let somebody else take their shot on him. Me personally, I'd much rather have the young guys. So Melvin Gordon, the third running back. The fourth running back for me, Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette is currently being drafted as running back number 35, and I just won't have a whole lot of shares in him. Currently, he's basically splitting the role with Ronald Jones as the early down back, and Ronald Jones is just a better football player, so I anticipate Ronald Jones being more of the starting running back with Leonard Fournette mixing in here and there. But then you have the signing of Giovanni Bernard, who's going to be this team's pass-catching specialist. So he's going to play third downs, 2-minute offenses, all of that. So what does that leave for Leonard Fournette? A whole lot of nothing. Leonard Fournette has been very average in his career. Sure, there's been some moments of glimpses of a good player, but for majority of his career, he's just a volume-based guy who's not going to see volume. So for those reasons, I'm totally out on Leonard Fournette. There's other guys that are going around him, like A.J. Dillon, James Conner. Hate to say this, but David Johnson, because at least this team's going to be bad, and he's currently their third down back, so I'd rather take that over Leonard Fournette, where you have to have an injury happen for him to be relevant. Because if Ronald Jones doesn't get hurt or fumble his way out of the starting gig, and if Giovanni Bernard doesn't get hurt, you're going to have Leonard Fournette basically standing on the sidelines a whole lot. So for me, I have no interest. That's why he's the fourth guy on this list. The fifth and final back for me. Zack Moss. Zack Moss is currently being drafted as running back number 36 in fantasy football. He's a guy who, to me, is just average. You also have Devin Singletary. I believe that these are both average running backs who tested below your average running back did at the combine in terms of their athletic ability. So two average, very average NFL running backs. But one of them is currently going nearly 2 rounds ahead of the other, and that's Zack Moss. If I want to share this backfield, which I don't really want to share this backfield, but if I do, I'd much rather take my shot on Devin Singletary, who actually has been the more impressive back in preseason. Now, I get it. It's just preseason, but I'm still going to take my shot on Devin Singletary, and really what you're looking at is if one of them gets hurt, that's really when they're going to start to return value for you. But prior to that, just two guys that are constantly going to be switching series, and I don't see one really separating themselves from the other. And also you have Josh Allen, who over his past 3 years, his first 3 years in the NFL, has scored at least 8 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. So a guy that's going to vulture some of their touchdowns. You're not going to see a whole lot of rushing touchdowns, and especially on a team that loves to pass the ball. At least that was the change with them last year. They were very pass happy. Why draft one of these guys? Where in this range with Zack Moss, I'd much rather go a guy like Jarvis Landry, Brandon Cooks, get my quarterback in Ryan Tannehill, and then later, nearly 2 rounds later, I can take my stab on Devin Singletary if I want a guy in this backfield. So those are my top 5 guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Is there anybody that you think belongs on the list? Maybe somebody that I shouldn't put on the list? Let me know. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.